because the last thing I want to do is slip over on this mud on camera.
Hello, today I'm in the Peak District. I'm here to shoot some landscapes and some waterfalls. It's a bit of an overcast start this morning, so I'm going to head off to my first waterfall, which is just off Snake Pass.
Well, I suppose there's worse places to spend a Monday morning. Here I am, arrived at the waterfall. It was quite a journey along the path. It's very wet, very muddy. It's quite slippery in places, so it was difficult to get to, but we made it in the end. So we've got a nice setting here. The sun's behind us, it's still behind clouds, so it suits us quite well. We've got a good rush of water. It's obviously been raining obviously the last few days over here. So it's a really nice setting. We've got a waterfall in the foreground, trees and the valley disappearing into the distance with the large hill in the background. So I've set the camera up, I put it into a vertical position, and I've got it all level with the spirit level here. I'm just going to do the first shot just to see what happens when we don't put any filters on and just take a straight shot. I've got it in manual mode, manual focus, and I've switched off image stabilizing because I'm on the tripod and we don't want that to affect the shot. So we'll take the first shot and just see what we get. And it's looking okay. We've got some good detail in the water and it's nice exposed for the landscape leading off into the distance. Unfortunately the sky is all washed out. That's because the camera can't cope with the contrast between the darker shadowed areas of the waterfall compared to the brighter sky. So what we're going to do is to add a filter to see if we can balance that brightness difference. So I'm going to get my Lee filter holder for the 7.5 system, just slot that onto the front, and then for this scene I'm going to choose a Lee 0.6 2-stop ND hard grad. I've chosen this because I can see the sun is off to the side of me, so it's a 90-degree angle to the scene that I'm shooting. And in these kind of cases, you usually find that 2 stops is just right to balance that sky. So I'm going to slot that into the first slot on the filter holder. So with that in position, I'll take a second shot. That's looking much better now. Got the same exposure on the foreground here, but now I've got some colour in the sky and the camera's able to pick up the definition in the clouds. However, there is one other filter I can now add to further improve the shot. So what I'm going to do now is take the grad out and move it forward, place it into the second slot, just pushing it up again, and now my second filter is the Lee Filters 6-stop little stopper. The big the little stopper. I'm going to slide that now into the vacant birth position. This one should always be positioned nearest the front of the lens, and that gasket there will seal out any light leaks that can happen at this longer exposure. Now before I take the shot, I'm actually going to set the ISO on the camera from 200, drop it down to the base level that I can set on here, which is effectively 100 ISO. What I'm trying to do here is lengthen the exposure as long as possible. So the combination of the low ISO and the 6-stop little stopper has now given me exposure of 1 second.
Using this 6-stop ND filter gives a much better result. We lose the harshness of the water and the soft effect now complements the landscape.
We've now come up to Carhead Rocks to do the view to the west through to the Hope Valley with Mamtor in the background. It's a wonderful view. The sun's come out, broken through that cloud, and so we've got a really nice view now. I've set up the camera on a tripod again, the 12 to 40 mm lens. It's manually focused, so again I can take control of the focusing point. I've focused a third of the way into the picture. Aperture priority and on f8 for maximum depth of field. I'm going to take an initial test shot to see how this looks with the cable release.
As we can see, it's not a bad initial picture, although it is a touch bland. What it really needs is some sort of foreground element to help build up the picture. We're also going to need to use a filter to help bring back the detail in the sky, which has got washed out.
So now I've moved on just a few feet from my original position and I found these really interesting rocks, and these are going to be my foreground. So this is going to make a much better picture, so I can build up the picture with foreground, the midground and the background, kind of story into the picture. That's looking a lot more interesting. Much better view, much better foreground and a much more interesting picture. The next step is to add a bit of colour and detail to the sky. Now, because the sun's off to my left, 90-degree angle, there's a good chance I can use a polariser.
We rotate the filter until we see the desired effect. With the filter in place, it has enriched the colour of the sky, but also saturated the colours in the landscape.
Because it's clouded over somewhat, the light's gone a bit hazy, so instead of doing the wide view as planned, I've come to this little stream that looks onto Higator in the background there, and I wanted to demonstrate the shot here of using lead-in lines as a way of composing the picture. Even though the stream is flowing towards the camera, it still gives a sense of depth and draws the eye into the landscape and the picture that we're going to create onto the view of Higator in the background there. So we've set the camera up on a tripod. Again, I'm going to do an initial shot just with the basic settings, and then we'll work on that to see how we can improve on the shot. And it's looking pretty good. The landscape, nice lines either side with the Higator in the centre, with a little bit of sky, and we've got the movement of the water coming into the frame from the middle distance. What we're going to do now though is add a couple of filters, one to balance the sky and one to make a bit more interest to this water. So the ND filter I've chosen on this occasion is a 0.9 free-stop soft grad. I want to bring down the brightness of the sky, but because the position of the filter will be slightly over the landscape onto the right of the frame, just to balance up where I've got these darker shadowed areas, I need a soft grad so the graduation line isn't so defined in the picture. So we'll take that shot now, and that's looking better. We've kept some more detail in the sky now, it's not so washed out, and it's balanced that brighter sky with the more shadowed landscape. The next filter I've added is the Lee 6-stop little stopper.
The little stopper. Cut. I've done that already.
This is going to drop our shutter speed down from 1/60th of a second down to 1 second, which is going to create a nice flow of water.